And so this is for book number 3. It's called Join In and Play. I believe this is the first, yes, first book in during this year where it is from Mayers. Um, um, the author's name is I forgot her first name, but it is structured in such that it's more of a less of a story and more um, like the more you know, ABC, NBC, whatchamacallit, like structured like that kind of commercial where it talks about situations, scenarios, and then tells the kids how you would work through certain things. Uh, so I feel like it's a little bit different to read this kind of book, right? Because a lot of times I personally enjoy the more of the story books, right? That tells is it's trying to teach a lesson through characters, right? Through a plot, and it drives a theme. But this is a different style. But we will have about 3 of these books this year in Project Cornerstone for the TKK. This works a little bit differently because I mean we don't have any of these books in the upper grades because that's more story focused, right? And those kinds of books. But we will have it for TKK. Hello, hi, Xia.
Yeah, I just leave use my phone.
Okay, okay. So really we have oh now I get to see 2 of you. Or just one. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So let's get into it. I was going to say that there were a couple of activities, suggested activities for this book, that are still somewhat straightforward, but one of them I noticed did not have um, the materials so much. I'll go into more detail as when we get to that part where I explain the suggest activities. But I think I can find something online or something suggested. But as usual, let me share my screen because I have not yet. All right. So I'm gonna hide my camera. Hopefully no one comes in. I'll check a little bit later, see if anyone's waiting, but it's already about 8 minutes past the start of the meeting. So hopefully no one comes in. I won't be able to see them. Anyways, so this is the YMCA Project Cornerstone materials and lesson plan for this book. So I always open the lesson plan itself. Yeah, there's a letter the optional letter that you might or might not want to send to the parents. It's up to you. You could always check out the video after. We have this meeting. You don't have to, but it's optional. The only thing that you might want to check out maybe if you, I don't know have you guys been using the puppets as the conversation starter?
No, of the
All right.
classes that I've done, we haven't used them. I know it's
Okay.
an option, but we just haven't done it.
Right. I don't personally do it myself, but I want to obviously, they do have it and it can connect with the kids. It's obviously optional whether or not you feel like you want to do that. But anybody who's else who's doing the puppet can check out the video, right, to see how it could possibly be done, right? But in addition to the regular videos, there's a book narration unless you want to hear the book being read. There's a rap too. But uh, but I wanted to focus on something. Oh yeah, that's right. Later on, during the activities, most of the time you can come to this page and check out the materials because sometimes the suggested activities you will have some of the coloring pages or perhaps for the Day of the Dead they had the skeletons, right? They had the skeletons on this part. So always if you're not sure and you want to come in here and check out this first before you go out like and search on the web, for example, for your materials. Sometimes you'll find it here. But unfortunately, for one of the activities, I did not see it here. Okay. Let me switch to my slides. Before I switch my slides, let me give myself one last look to see if anyone is waiting. Okay, I don't see anyone. Cool. It's just us today. Perfect. All right. So, okay, join in and play. This is book number 3. Let me, oh, this is the problem. Hold on. Let me close my camera and go back to here. Okay. So this book reads more like an infomercial, right? More like a, the more you know commercial. There's a little bit more narrative. It does go through a certain scenarios and situations, and explains it inside of the book. But basically the theme is how to be a good friend, how to make a friend, and how to cooperate and play together well, right? And nicely and with respect. That involves getting along, not being a good sport, being nice, and then navigating ways that they would talk to their friends or their peers on the playground or elsewhere, because at this age, they're still trying to figure out what's the best way to communicate and say how they feel and how to deal with their emotions, right? Basically, all the social interactions you would expect them to encounter on the playground. And included in this is not just talking about how to, for example, join in somebody else's game, like on the playground, for example, you want to play tag with them. Maybe it's playing with a ball, but also the other side of that coin, right? In which to have the students recognize that sometimes their peers, their friends, their classmates on the playground might want to join in on the game. This also talks a little bit about, the book also talks a little bit about inviting others to play, right? So that's something that might not be obvious. And also the importance of cooperation and respect inside of their classroom and on the playground. Okay, so this is actually the goals are basically the same as what I just mentioned before. Oh yeah, that's right. Understand the rules of getting along, cooperating with others. Also, during the scenarios, they would walk through ways, things that the students can say to invite others how to play. Because even though you tell the students you want to be nice, you might also know how it feels like to be excluded, to be outside and want to play, but also what words, right? What things you can say to invite others, right? And also be able to, again, show respect while you're playing with others. But more importantly, as you're walking them through the scenarios, hopefully they get more comfortable in dealing with situations like these, so that they can feel better about it when it actually happens on the playground, right? To help them feel better about themselves, to build their self-esteem. So one of the things that you can do, like as in previous books, you can have an introduction, do an icebreaker using a puppet. There is a video as usual on the YMCA materials page. Go check it out. An activity that you can do for a conversation starter is something called the pieces of a puzzle. It's a type of discussion and lesson. So basically, the activity demonstrates how everyone kind of fits in a puzzle, right? And belongs together. So the idea is you would present a simple puzzle. Maybe I think what they suggested was nothing more than like a dozen pieces or something like that. But any piece of a puzzle, or rather any puzzle would work out here. You would basically have most of the some of the puzzle already put together, and you would introduce pieces that haven't been put into the puzzle, and you would basically ask them to, for example, you would start off by saying, "Hey, do you see this puzzle? This puzzle is like our classroom. This puzzle is like your circle of friends, right?" And then you would grab one of the puzzles and say, "Hey, do you think I can take this piece right here and put it anywhere, or does it have a place?" And then they can say, "Well, I think we've played with puzzles before." Or if they don't answer, you can say, "Well, if you've played with puzzles before, you would know that a puzzle has a place. Well, just like you belong to this puzzle, you belong to this classroom, and you have a place, right? You have a way, you have your own personality. Everyone has a place and room and space, and then all together, though, the idea is all together, you guys belong in this puzzle. And if any of you are missing, then your friends and your classmates would miss you." Okay. And then you would also ask a question like, for example, "Do you feel this puzzle, without all of its pieces, is it better? Or is it better that we have all of the pieces of the puzzle?" And then hopefully they would say something like, "No, it would not be perfect, or it would not be as good if some of the pieces are missing. It's a lot better or more ideal, right? If we have all the pieces of the puzzle." So this is a good way to start talking about how it's good to include all the pieces of the puzzle, this idea that together, right, together as a whole, all of us belong in the classroom, in our social groups, and that we should really, you can start to introduce the idea that we should really try to make sure that we allow to make sure all the pieces are, if they're excluded, to be make sure to be included inside the puzzle. We being together is better, right? We have something to offer everybody. Just like we have a different place inside the puzzle, and in general, that's better. Any questions about that activity?
Oh no.
Okay. I'm just going to take a quick look at the notes. I don't think I excluded anything. Yeah, so yeah, introduce missing pieces, introduce the puzzle, talk about the right fit, and then emphasize that each of you, each of the students is a special piece. You're unique. You have your own special place. Right. Okay. I think that's right. Yeah. And if you feel like someone's excluded, make sure you include them. Yeah. Just like a completed puzzle, everyone feels like they belong. Okay. So reading this book is very similar to all the other ones. You want to go at a slower pace. This is not too slow, because you want to get through the book. It can be a little bit wordy, I think, and it might be more challenging to engage the students. So there's a lot of illustrations in this book. It's often you would see situations where you would see children on the playground, in the classroom. In this particular case, in this particular book, you'll see them playing, and then they're usually in the middle of a game, and someone else wants to join in on the game, and then you would basically point out these illustrations. You would ask questions like, "What is happening here?" You can see that this student looks like he's unhappy or she's unhappy because she's feeling excluded, and then you would basically explain what's happening. If not, to be a lot more clear, for example, sometimes some of the students in the back might not be able to see exactly what's happening, but it's always great to do this, to explain what's happening, and also to make sure that they're still actively looking at the book, right? Otherwise, you're just reading it, and it might be a little bit hard for them to stay engaged for 10 minutes, because 10 minutes is actually quite a long time for their age. But while you're pointing out the scenarios and what's happening in the book, what you might want to say is like, oh, I like the way, for example, this student seems to be asking politely to join in on the game, asking politely to play. You're basically having positive reinforcement to say what might be not acceptable, but more ideal, right? Ideal social behavior. What they might, how they might act in these situations. You can bring up hypothetical situations, for example, the hypothetical situations that are happening inside of the story, inside of the book, or you can reach out and ask them, like, hey, has anyone ever felt excluded? For example, on the playground, how would you guys feel when you really want to join in the game of tag, but you don't know how to get in? Do you feel sad? How do you feel? You can ask the students, right, and have them engage that way about things that they might have personally experienced. You can ask things like, what are some of the games? It doesn't have to be a game that involves other people, right? You can start by asking, what are some games you like to play by yourself? And then you can say, it's okay. Sometimes some games are better played by yourself, and it's okay to enjoy playing by yourself. But sometimes, you would like to play with your friends or others on the playground, your classmates. What kind of games are those? So you can ask these kinds of questions. If you see someone, for example, playing alone during a game where other people, when you see someone playing alone, you can ask them, the students can ask them, hey, would you like to join in our game? Sometimes, of course, the student might say, oh, no, thanks, I'm okay playing alone. But some other times, they might want to play, right? So you can introduce the idea where you can tell the student, hey, sometimes your friends want to join in, right? But they don't know how to join in. Right? So you can even ask them, have you ever invited someone on the playground to play with you? What are the things that you can say? Is there something that you guys said to invite that somebody? So what can you do when you want to join in? For example, you observe a bunch of kids playing hula hoop, and you want to play with them, but there aren't enough hula hoops, right? How would you can ask the students, well, how would you ask if they can join in, if they can use the hula hoop? So you can now's the time you can introduce scenarios where are things that they can say. It's like, oh, things that the students can say are like, may I have a turn after you're done? So after you guys are done playing with this particular game, can I have a chance? Can I have a turn? So you wouldn't exactly, or rather the students wouldn't exactly just, go in and grab the hula hoop, right? Or grab the ball, for example, right? You would ask nicely. And then again, along the themes of being excluded, you can ask the students, have you ever been sad because someone wouldn't play with you? What are the kinds of words that the other person said when they said that you couldn't join? Did they just say, no, you can't play with me, right? How did that make you feel when someone said, no, you can't play with me? So what are things that you can say to somebody else when you don't want to play with them, right? Maybe it's you don't want to play with them. It's not that you don't want to play with that student or your classmate, but there aren't enough hula hoops, right? Or there aren't enough balls. Then you can say things instead of just straight no, plain no. You can say no. Oh, I'm playing with the hula hoop right now, but you can have a turn after this. Or simply saying, oh, no, I don't want to play with you right now, but maybe later. Things are a little bit more less not extreme, but just a plain no, but more of a reason, inviting a possibility, leaving open the possibility that it's not that I don't want to play with you, it's just maybe not right now, or I'll give you a turn I'll give you a chance to play with us a little bit later, right? So introduce some different ways of saying no. And you can tie that in with, well, because it's doesn't make somebody else feel great if you just say no. It might make them feel excluded, right? Give them an idea of that empathy to start thinking about how others might feel. And then if you are that student who are trying to join in but are not able to, what are some of the strategies or some of the things that they can say, right? For example, oh, I can't play with you right now. That's okay. Maybe I can have a turn later. Or maybe you don't want to play this game right now. That's okay. I'll play by myself. Or if you really, really want to have a turn as a student, you can ask a friend to help you, because maybe that friend's already playing with the toys or already in the game. You can ask that friend, say, hey, can I join you guys? And then have a more safe way in, right? Or you can ask, or the student may ask an adult and say, I'm trying to join the group over there, but they're not allowing me to. Can you help me out? Things like that, so that they don't feel like they have no way of joining in, right? Gives them strategies and different ways of joining that group. So you can introduce to the students what it means to cooperate. That might be a word that they're not used to. Cooperate is, you can tell them, well, it means working together, right? But it also means to be to be as part of a group, right? Trying to do something together. So for example, you can ask the children, what are things that you guys, us students, do in class to cooperate? Maybe you guys work together to try to solve a puzzle. Maybe you work together as a team to play a game, right? To try to score more points than the other team, for example. What are different ways that students, you guys cooperate with each other? How are you guys, working together? What are these children doing? What are the children inside of the stories and inside of the scenarios that are being presented in the book? What are they doing to get along? You can also, it's a good time to bring up the concept of respect. What is, for example, you can say something as simple as, well, respect is being able to make sure the other person feels valued, right? This can be done by what you do or what you say to them, right? How does taking turns, right? How does taking turns show respect for somebody else? When you show respect, you show that you think others are, excuse me, are important. They're worthy of you saying nice things, or you're saying no to them, but in a nice, respectful way, that their feelings are important too. Any questions about this one? Okay. Okay, so now we're going to get into the activities. There are 3 suggested activities for this book. The first one is called What Classmates Play. So the general idea is students form a circle. One child, one student, it depends on you whether you want to have students volunteer to participate as the child in the middle of the circle, or you might choose students out of randomly to participate. Or if the class, or if you have more than one reader inside of your classroom, you can split the classroom into slightly smaller groups. For example, if you have 2 readers, you can split the class in half and then play 2 games. That way, you can go through this activity a little bit quicker, and maybe it's not as intimidating for some students when the group is a little bit smaller. But while the child in the middle of the circle, you're asking them to say, what do you enjoy playing? I enjoy playing this game. I enjoy playing tag. I enjoy playing ball. I enjoy playing basketball. I like bouncing the ball. Simple games, familiar games perhaps, that students are familiar with. But the idea is, after the student said, I like playing this game, who else likes to play this game? And then either have the students who basically you would instruct the class to say, if you like to play the game like Fong, who's standing in the middle of the circle, also step into the circle to show that you also like to play this game. Alternatively, you can also just have the students raise their hands, right, or do some kind of indication that that they also enjoy the activity. Hold on 1 second. Okay, great. Let me actually make sure I cover everything. But okay, so and then after the students indicate that they like to play the game, you would say something like, "Wow, look at all your classmates who like to play this game," for example. The idea is to make sure you're demonstrating to the students that that there are a lot of people who like to play the game too, right? That similarity, right? But the problem, maybe not the problem, but the trickiness with this activity are two particular things. One, you might have trouble having students. Some students will have no problem, whatchamacallit, volunteering, but some students are naturally just shy, so they might not. So you might, if you want, excuse me, not ask for volunteers, but you might ask some students. You personally can ask some students to share, right? And then, but if they say no, because of course they might be shy, you can give them some soft encouragement. But if they ultimately say no, you can say, "Oh, that's okay. I'm glad you're brave enough to say no. It's okay to not share. Maybe later. Maybe later, if you change your mind, you can jump in." Another problem that you might have is maybe the student comes up with a game that not everyone understands, or no one jumps in, or no one raises their hand to say, "Oh yeah, I like to play chess," for example, because TK students don't play chess. And if this happens, you want to make sure that you don't that the student doesn't feel bad. You want to say, "Oh, maybe as a volunteer, you can say, well, chess, that's a very interesting game. Maybe not all the friends here in class has played chess before. Does anyone know what chess is?" And then you would basically, if a student chooses an idea that is not popular, you can yourself as a volunteer can jump in and then kind of make sure it keeps moving, make sure the student inside of the circle doesn't feel discouraged. Um, uh, and then you can say, "Well, this is the game that does that, and it's okay." There's a variation where you can take a ball, and then when a student is done sharing in the middle of the circle, they can toss the ball to somebody else, basically pass on, and have the student pick who's next. Again, if the student selected doesn't want to participate, tell them it's okay. We'll just toss the ball to somebody else, right? Or pick somebody else to share. Okay. And then the second activity is basically a mural. This is so the general idea is students draw a classmate, write their classmate's name on a picture. And then this picture is a picture of themselves playing with a classmate. So basically you're having students pair up with another student. You can do this in several ways. You can either pick for them what other classmate that they're going to be paired up with. You can beforehand randomly draw it out. Like maybe you have all their names, but some students might not show up. That's the problem with that idea. Or you can just basically have them select a classmate, and quickly for those who can't find a partner, go ahead and match them up for them. But the idea is you have those two partners, those two students, draw and write about their partner, right? So this can take a little time. As an alternative, rather than have them draw a picture of them playing with their partner, you can, for example, find a coloring page, and then have them color that, and just have them draw, or so not draw, but write their partner's name. This is me and my partner. playing on the playground, right? And then have them color the coloring page. Of course, with this particular activity, you're gonna have to find a coloring page of them playing, right? So that's the only drawback. But I think there isn't, for example, coloring pages that were included in the materials. So what you want to do is either look it up yourself and find it. But I found, excuse me, I found a resource that you might use. I'll post it in the WhatsApp group right after this training. But after excuse me, after giving them a little bit of time, you basically collect all of the different pictures that everyone has drawn. You can ask them for volunteers, ask students for any student volunteers that they want to share with the class, what they drew, how they colored that their drawing. But at the end of the activity, you collect excuse me, you collect all of the pictures, and then you put it together on a mural, and the mural would have the title Room A1 Plays Together, right? For example. So this is a way for them to have something collectively, an artwork that they worked on together, and then it celebrates their connection with each other, right? So it kind of plays back. You can also say, hey, this is when this is done, it's going to look a lot like that puzzle that, for example, if you had done the puzzle conversation starter. It's a lot like the puzzle. We all fit in and together in the classroom. All of these pictures are like pieces of the puzzle, right? But introduce them that this is the idea that them, playing together is them being able to be part of the community, being part of the classroom. Okay, and the last activity is role play. So as with role play, it might be a little bit tricky. You can either split them into smaller groups. Again, maybe you can split the class in half and talk about role play. Act out, basically the students are acting out scenarios from the book, practicing how to use those friendly words, either to try to be included in the game from the outside, or as a student or somebody who's already playing the game to invite others into the game, right? This might require you to do some role playing and an example yourself. If you have a partner, you can role play with the partner and then act out and say, okay, this is a play where, for example, me and Fong, we're going to act out. We're going to pretend we're on the playground. Fong wants to come in to play ball with us, and I would say these things. This in particular does have a PDF. So in this particular PDF, it has, for example, things that they can say. You can print this out, put it on the board and whatnot. You can say, for example, I would practice saying, "Hey, would you like to play with us now?" As a person inside of the game, trying to include somebody. And then you can flip that with the same pair and say, "May I play with you?" To basically use these words to try to, for example, things that they would say during these scenarios. You can do this once and play it out real quick so that they can see how it's done. Then invite volunteers to do this. So this is something that you can do. If you don't have a partner, you can always ask your teacher. Teachers love doing this. And then it gives another dimension of your students, these students in the class to engage, to having a chance to see their teacher, right? Somebody familiar, an adult that they're already familiar with, to do this activity. I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna quickly close out saying, oh my goodness, excuse me. Close out saying, oh, thank you for giving me your time. I'll come back next month. But before I leave, what is one thing that you can do today or tomorrow to include somebody inside your play, or for you to try to join into somebody else's play, right? Emphasize belonging, and by saying classroom is a place where everyone feels respected, like a community, but everyone belongs and everyone is valued. Okay, at this point, I'm going to stop the recording, but go ahead and read I'm going to provide the slides so that you can take a look. But you can talk with your partner after the activity, or with the teacher to see what works well and what doesn't work well, and so that you can improve the next time you visit the classroom. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna stop the recording.